I moved into the lakeside estates thinking it was paradise. A quiet, peaceful neighborhood built around a beautiful private lake ducks gliding along the water, families enjoying picnics, and kids skipping stones. As someone who loves fishing, I thought I'd found the perfect home. The lake literally touched the edge of my backyard. Every morning I'd sit at the shore with a cup of coffee and my rod, letting the calmness wash over me. That peace didn't last long. Enter the HOA. More specifically, Karen.
Hello.
She was the president of the HOA, self-appointed guardian of the neighborhood's rules, and a woman who treated every lawn, gate, and garden gnome like it was a federal matter. The first time we met, she was more interested in pointing out that my lawn height exceeded regulation limit by 1.5 inches than welcoming me to the neighborhood. But I could handle lawn height. What I didn't expect was a $300 fine in the mail. 2 weeks later, for unauthorized fishing, I laughed at first. Surely this was a mistake. I was fishing on my own property on the shoreline behind my own house. But when I went to the HOA office to clear things up, Karen was waiting with a smug smile and a copy of the bylaws in hand. "You see," she said, tapping a highlighted section, "the lake is HOA owned. All recreational activities, including fishing, require a community permit. You didn't have one." "But my property backs right onto the lake," I argued. "Exactly. Which means you're even more responsible for following the rules." I refused to pay it. But that only made things worse. A week later, I got another letter. This time, unauthorized use of HOA property, second offense, $600 fine. Then they banned me from lake access completely. No swimming, boating, or even standing near the water line on my own lawn. Karen even sent HOA patrols to monitor my backyard. I couldn't believe it. The final straw came when they threatened to lien on my property if I didn't pay the accumulating fines. I was furious, humiliated, and tired of being bullied by a power-hungry HOA queen and her clipboard. But instead of fighting with words, I made a few phone calls. The master plan, you see, I had resources Karen didn't know about. I wasn't just some quiet guy who liked to fish. I owned a small but successful land development company and had a close friend who specialized in private property acquisitions. Turns out, while the HOA managed the lake, they didn't own it. It was technically owned by a retired real estate. An investor who had no connection to the neighborhood, Karen and her HOA just paid a yearly lease to use and maintain it as a community resource. That was their loophole and my opportunity. So I made him an offer. $250,000 for full ownership. He laughed, said he bought the land 40 years ago for almost nothing and had no emotional attachment to it. The HOA was paying him a measly $5,000 a year. He said yes, on the spot. Just like that, the lake was mine. I filed the transfer paperwork, changed the title, and within 3 weeks, officially became the sole owner of Lakeside Estates Lake. Karen had no idea what was coming. The fallout begins. The next HOA meeting was held at the clubhouse by the lake. I walked in with copies of the title deed, handed them out like party favors, and stood quietly as Karen read the papers. Her face turned sheet white. This is absurd," she stammered. "You can't just buy the lake." "Actually," I said, smiling, "I can, and I did." There was a long silence in the room as I pulled out my final documenta notice revoking the HOA's lake lease, effective immediately. "From this point forward," I announced, "this lake is privately owned, and no one from the HOA or its members are permitted to access it. That includes fishing, swimming, boating, or even stepping foot on the shore. Violators will be prosecuted." For trespassing, panic spread across the room. Neighbors were whispering, looking at each other. Karen stood frozen, her power crumbling right in front of her. She tried to argue, of course. "This is spiteful. You're punishing the whole neighborhood." "No," I said calmly. "I'm just following the rules. Your rules." And that was only phase 1 after the HOA meeting meltdown. You'd think Karen would retreat and lick her wounds. Nope, she doubled down. Within days of losing access to the lake, she started a campaign to take back community waters. Flyers went out. Angry HOA posts circulated on the neighborhood Facebook group. Karen even staged a lakeside protest, complete with folding chairs, umbrellas, and hand-painted signs that read, "No owns nature. Our lake, our rights. Down with tyranny, up with trout." It was bizarre. There she was sitting with her loyal followers just 10 feet from the water line and land she no longer had any right to be on. I gave them one warning. "This is private property now. You're trespassing," Karen scoffed. "This is intimidation. Exercising peaceful protest." So I called the sheriff. They didn't arrest her, but she and her crew were politely escorted off the land. Karen tried to argue with the deputy until he read the updated land records and gave me a nod. "He owns it, ma'am. You're lucky he's being polite about it." But I wasn't done yet. Revenge with a smile. "You see Karen's little HOA. Clubhouse by the lake? That charming building with the deck, patio chairs, and private HOA members-only signs? It wasn't built on HOA land. It was sitting on a strip of shoreline that came with the lake purchase. Technically, it was mine now. Karen had no idea. And when I sent her a legal notice of eviction from the building, she exploded. "This is harassment. This is war." "No," I said, "this is real estate." 2 weeks later, I officially converted the building into lakeside rentals, a fishing and boating service open to the public, but not HOA members. The rule was posted big and bold. HOA members banned trespassers. Will be reported. I hired a couple of local teenagers to run it, added kayaks and paddle boats, and even brought in a food truck every weekend. The community's precious private lake had become a public attraction, and it was booming. People from neighboring towns showed up to fish, picnic, and enjoy the lake that HOA residents were now strictly prohibited from entering. I made a point of putting a sign in front of the old clubhouse. Now open. Free fishing permits for everyone. Except Karen. Karen's final move, but Karen wasn't done plotting. No, she filed a formal lawsuit against me. She claimed I was causing emotional distress to the HOA, unfairly monopolizing local resources, and weaponizing land ownership. Lawyers sent me a thick packet of complaints, most of which were hilariously weak, but I still lawyered up. My attorney took one look at her filing and burst out laughing. "She's got no case. This'll be fun." In court, Karen tried to frame me as a vindictive neighbor, using wealth to destroy community values. But when the judge asked for proof of HOA ownership of the lake or clubhouse land, she had nothing. I, on the other hand, had every document, title, and lease agreement ready. The judge dismissed the case in under 20 minutes. Karen was left speechless again. The new HOA elections a month later, Karen was voted out as HOA president in a landslide election. Turns out, when your entire neighborhood loses access to their lake and gets humiliated in court because of you, they don't want you in charge anymore. The new president.com, a reasonable guy named Dave, visited me personally to apologize. "We should have never fined you. Karen went too far. Is there any way we can make peace?" I paused. I wasn't unreasonable. "I'll tell you what," I said. "No more fines, no more rules about my property, and no more HOA patrols watching my backyard. You keep to your land, I'll keep to mine." Dave agreed instantly, as a gesture of goodwill. I let the HOA rent back access to part of the lake for double what they were paying the previous owner. Every time they make a payment, I smile a little, and Karen. Last I heard, she moved to a gated community in another state, probably one where she could be queen of the HOA again. But I doubt any of her new neighbors know what she did here. For me, I fish in peace every morning with a coffee in one hand and my rod in the other on my lake, from my backyard. And every once in a while, I glance over at the lakeside rentals sign and smile.